Alrighty. Look, I like to keep everyone pretty fair on this podcast, but I'm not going to lie. Jeffery Morgan is definitely my favourite guest on the panel here today. But I've dragged in two old dogs. I've got Jakey Ward here, and we've got Graydon. Graydon's just had a baby.
Oh, congrats,
yeah,
brother.
I have.
Thank you.
What, boy, girl?
Boy, yeah.
Congrats,
boy.
man.
A week.
First child?
A week today, actually. Yeah.
Oh, mate, how good.
So I'm sleep
Nice.
deprived and highly caffeinated. That's great.
That's the perfect recipe.
You're not going to want to go home, mate.
No, I'll stay for a bit.
And we've got Jeffery Morgan, man, over from Sydney.
Yeah, sort of
man.
way from Sydney, brother. Doing a bit of work here, and we hooked it up and made it happen.
Yeah. Let me just tell those who are listening to this, man, about how that came in. And this goes to show the man that you are, especially in this sort of community. You know, like I heard your podcast on what's it called, man? With Mark Bouris.
Oh, yeah.
Straight Talk. Yeah, man, wicked podcast. I only just got introduced to it, and I've listened to them all, and then I listened to your podcast, and I was blown away, man. I was, and so I reached out to you, bro.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I've just listened to your podcast, just totally off the back of listening to it. And you replied straight back, within a couple of hours, man, and said, fucking, love to. You said that you'd lost your brother and sister through suicide, and you saw the work that we were doing over here in WA, man, and wanted to get amongst it and support it.
Love that. And that's basically how we've all connected now. And, you know, the boys have hit me up and said, mate, there's an event on and we'd love you down there, and the rest is history as well. So we often, I hear it all the time about, let's help the world and let's make it a better place. But people, you know, they'll reach out to you and they'll just go silent. So we can do better as humans, male and female, and let's do better and just say yes more often than not, pass on that knowledge. We were just chatting before, and, you know, Grades is talking about somebody through his podcast actually talking about how his podcast saved his life, and you know, that's the power of a podcast. And if you're in an area, why not do it? Why not share the knowledge that you've acquired and maybe save someone's life, empower somebody's life, change somebody's life? Priceless. So
And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're all part of the bigger network, and I feel, you know, if we're all just doing our little bit as well, man.
That's well, you know, for me, just to clear it up for everyone, we all walk side by side, and so you know, the brothers here, we all can, you know, be just as strong as one another. It's always about, a lot of people want you to win, but not more than them. For me, I want everybody to win, and if Grades does it better than me, or the brother does it better, that's so be it. Yeah. I'm not fussed by who wins more. I'm just fussed by who wants more, and I'll pass it on to you. How you apply it into your life, that's up to you.
Yeah. That's an important message, man.
Priceless.
For us all. I mean, we're all doing our own work in the community, particularly over here in WA. You know, we've started to build a really, I feel I'm a part of a really strong men's community over here, or even just a wellness community. And I guess this is how the Gala come up too, and we should actually just talk about that. So Jeffrey's also, so you said you'd come on the podcast when I reached out, and then I said, I think it was in the same conversation, I've gone,
by the way.
Yeah, by the way, mate.
Come on.
Can I just push the friendship? Can you come over and do a talk at the Gala that we're holding? And so Jakey and Grades for Empowered Project, they are holding the Gala, and we're raising money for my charity, The Starting Line. Yep. And that's on the 9th of November. Jeffery Morgan's going to be one of the guest speakers there.
Sure.
I'm also going to be one of the guest
speakers.
Let's go, Dave.
Let's go.
And it's going to be a good night. So those who are listening, man, jump on. I'll have the link for tickets on there. We're selling tables. We're selling tickets. We need all the support. We need all the community together. We are trying to change lives. You know, we need to get the suicide rate down.
Absolutely.
And this is an event that we wanted to inspire, but we also want to be able to pull the community together and actually celebrate what we're all doing, you know, and have a bit of fun, let the hair out, and because I think it's super important, man.
Love that. Both male and female. Get yourselves down there, check it out, because in the end, as I said, we'll share. The way I do all my talks is more about how we can. It's not a talk to everybody; it's an interaction. Get your phones out, get pads out, get anything can out. I'm going to share some tools with yourself, and you can take it away. So get down, check it out. It's a good cause. Having a brother and sister lost to suicide, male and female, we can all contribute to this conversation. And I've just put something up on socials and asked them: is it the embarrassment? Is it pride and ego? What is it? Are we too good for the information? Those sorts of questions. And a lot of it was being embarrassed. So just get down, come down, say hello, and put it out there to the world, because once you just say yes to yourself, you never know what happens. And that gala, literally, I do a lot of work over in WA or across the world, and it fell right on the back end of that work. And I said, yeah, no problem. So it just shows you put yourself out there, ask a question, you never know what might happen. And you got the boys that have been through plenty as well, yourself, that's going to share information. Beck's down there. I've met Beck before. She's come. We've caught up in Sydney, and we're going to, to be able to all be in that space and share magic to the world, come and support a good cause, and it might be your brother, your cousin, your family that actually benefits from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful.
The gala is going to be like no other as well. And that's not a sales pitch. It's more, I was thinking the other day, reflecting on what the fuck we're doing. I've got no idea what I'm doing. No idea, right? Someone that's not that educated is just giving it a crack, and that's the Empower Project to a T. But it's the authenticity that we want to bring in.
Love that.
The lighting, the audio, all that kind of stuff. We're getting the right people in to do that. We're giving it a go, but the authenticity is what's going to get this gala across the line, and people like yourself, Jeff, that are helping out. But I had a thought the other day, and over 6 years, I've lost 5 mates to suicide.
Wow.
So that's nearly a mate a year, nearly.
Wow.
And that's just a close mate. Obviously, working in the mental health space like we all do, I've lost a lot of people.
Wow.
And one mate was this year. I won't mention his name, but he was this year at the start. For me, that's what the gala's about, is not only reducing that number, but eliminating that number. But not by there's a lot of great causes out there, a lot of great charities. But the reason why the Empower Project to get behind the starting line is because of the authenticity that you bring, Dave. It's 100%. Like no other. The authenticity, the amount of times you've spoken about starting line and cried just shows the passion that you have behind it. And there's a lot of good charities out there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And they're doing good, but they're not doing enough good. They need to have that punch to them, which you have. And like I said, with your story, which you can listen back on your other podcast, is, the punch that you've put into drugs, alcohol and businesses in the past. Eliminate the drugs and alcohol, and you put it into a fucking charity to help people, man. Like, that drive is like no other. And that's why the Empowered Projects get behind it.
Love that.
And that's why people like yourself talk, and we want to bring that authenticity. We're doing 9D breath work. No one's ever done that at a black tie event.
Wow.
We've got people talking, and I've said to every single speaker, no filter. Obviously, they understand the professionalism behind speaking on stage.
Yeah.
However, I don't want to filter. I want people to just speak it. We're going to have mental health first aiders. We're going to have psychologists on board. If something comes up for someone, they're going to have the support on the night as well.
Love that.
But it's to have that open vulnerability and rawness, so people can leave that venue going, fuck, so-and-so said that, man, that resonated with me. And he got through it, why can't I? Man, I'm going to reach out to that person because he's got the same story I've got. I want to connect with him. And everyone coming, like Beck, like yourself, Dave, Darcy, my old trainer, they're all, like you said, Darcy, when I first wanted to train with him, same as you guys, I flicked him a message. Within an hour, he replied back, said 100%.
Yeah.
Trained with him for 6 months. And then when the gala popped up, I messaged him and said, can you come to the gala? And within 2 hours, he'd already booked his flights. I said, I can't pay you. I can't pay for the flights. It's a charity event. He said, I'm there. Done.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Mate. Yeah, that's all it takes, Just putting it out to the world and see what comes back to yourselves, and get down there. I'll say this: if you do get down there, I'll help you out. If you going through something, you want to have a chat, I'll exchange numbers with you. I'll help you through that little process. If you get down to the gala, take that step, challenge yourself. If you think, is my hair right? Is this the right time? Can I do this? Am I good enough? Am I educated enough? Pretty enough? Whatever it is, if you challenge that, I will personally exchange numbers with you and help you through your little journey to step across from where you are to where you want to be.
That's awesome, brother.
Awesome, bro. And that's what it's all about. Yeah, sorry, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, coming off the back of that, I think what these events should be really trying to do, pun intended, is empowering people, because if you think about life is hard and change is uncomfortable. So the more people that get on board with this, the more people that, collectively group together to normalize change, normalizing the uncomfortable, will then empower more people to take that step. Starting right, to take that step forward in creating that change. And I think the more that it's talked about, the more it's normalized in society, then it will have that ripple effect, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through a mental health gala, but if it's more about the communities collectively coming together to normalize that change. And I think that's what's really empowering about this gala, and teaching people that it's okay to show up for yourself, and it's okay to not feel enough at times. It's part of life, but it's about what do I then do with that feeling.
Love that.
All right, we'll leave it there, boys. Thanks for that. No, hey, mate, we're not going to close up without Jeffrey telling us a bank robber story. But we did come all this way, man. No, well, Jeff, if you don't mind, man, and
I'd love to hear that
too. Tell us a bit about you, bro. What I mean, look, a lot of people do know about your journey. Who's following you, and even like that Mark Bouris podcast, wicked podcast. I want to call him out on this podcast because he's coming over in November too, Mark Bouris.
Good, mate.
I don't know how I'm going to get hold of him.
But
I'd love to get him on here too, man. Maybe he'll see this.
He's a very genuine human, and he could have possibly been my cellmate. Literally. But and when I say that, he hasn't done anything wrong, but grew up in and around the area, just made better choices. But obviously knows a lot of the boys love boxing. Loves boxing absolutely. But to me, just be around those sorts of people that are genuine. And they could be worth plenty. They could have so much within their lives, but they'll still talk to every person that they see, and that's a good human.
I picked that up from his podcast, man. He's a bloke I'd love to meet.
I actually went to an entrepreneurs conference at the Crown probably about a year and a half ago, and he was there. Didn't get a chance to speak to him in person, but I just felt called to flick him a message on Instagram. Same thing. And obviously, he replied, which, like you said, people that have high followers, high influence, it's how the world is now. People either abuse it or they make the most of it, like yourself, make the most of it.
Crazy.
Mark Bouris, same thing. I just felt just appreciated. He had a good talk. I got a lot from it. Said, thanks, mate. That was awesome. He just replied. But it's just that interaction from someone that has got a lot going on. Probably gets a lot of messages, but takes the time to reflect back and give back. It's just, I value that a lot in someone.
That's huge. And you got to understand too, and I'll put it out there because it gets ridiculous. And so don't get cut when we don't get back in 5 minutes. We've got work that we're doing. Sometimes I get up at 4 a.m. I'll go to 9:30 at night with the community, right? So we'll go out, do stuff early in the morning. Then it's a structured day. So I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not touching it. And when I get home, it's the last thing I'm thinking about, to be honest with yourself. So just understand, if we can, we will. But there's times, sometimes we'll do a little spurt worth. And there'll be times where it's impossible. So we'll tell you open your phone and there's so many hits. And I mean, I try and have a look through and see if I can see something I'm reaching out because of, and then I'll open it and make sure someone might be on their last legs. And for us, that's an important, get them while you can. So if you are going to drop in my inbox, and that is the conversation. But then my biggest thing to the person that does drop in the inbox, take the advice that we give you and apply it straight away. And that usually, for me, people got to understand, trying to get back to 1,000 messages, just very hard. Trying to get back and get into a group of 1,000 men where we can chat to you as a whole and we can all understand one conversation. You got a question, Blakey, then we can answer it just in the one thing, and everyone, like a podcast, gets the answer or solution to that problem, and it makes it easier. So please sort of, that's not just for me, but other people that you might be reaching out to in the world. It's just very hard to get back in that sense.
On this podcast, it's an open forum, and I encourage anyone that's listening to this to even reach out to me or any of the guests that I have
for
on
sure.
here, man. And like when you are in those dark moments, and we're talking about those suicidal moments, or even just having a real fucking hard time, just reach out, man. I've been there. This is what encourages me, inspires me to be here, And another big motive of mine is like, I found my mum dead through suicide at the age of 14, and I caught up with my sister actually just 2 days ago, and her and I were just reflecting on it, because it was her and I that actually found her that morning, and we're just like, fuck, I wish my mum was here. You know, it's like I get it. I know even my mum, you know, from a spiritual level, I knew my mum had to do what she had done to allow this to happen here and to save more lives. So I look at it like she actually sacrificed herself for me to, I guess, go for an apprenticeship to be who I am and what I'm doing today. That's a positive spin on it. Man, like, fuck, for me and my sister just reflect. We're just like, fuck, you know, just, and also reflecting on the hurt that my mum was in at the time, man, like 6 months pregnant and young and in New Zealand, broke and fucking, you know, and it just would have been hard.
Tough, very tough.
Yeah, and I just sort of think, and that's that's what fires me up, man, like to fucking like just reach out. If it's not Jeff or Graydon or Jake or me, there's someone, you know, just get out there, man. Fucking, and struggle doesn't have to be struggle. You can get through it.
I just want to add to that, be decisive. So when we say, sometimes, because you've got to understand, here's the program, jumping with 1,000 other men or whatever it is, right? Or the empowerment project. Whoever you resonate with, jump in straight away. So if they say, hey, jump into the group, this is our advice, they don't want your money. They want you to be supported in that circle. And you got to understand, if I spend time, half an hour with Bate, then half an hour with yourself, half an hour, my day's gone. Like, how many people can I honestly get through in a day, right? Whereas if we're in one group, we do an hour of power, and that hour of power might be unpacking trauma, dealing with stress, emotional IQ, whatever it is. By the end of that hour, man, you walk away and you go, this is awesome. And you're seeing for us, let's say at Primal Warrior, it's an all-men's group, you're seeing men become and open up and become strong. I was going to say not weak, because what we see is weak is, don't cry. Why are you crying? What don't show any emotion. Look, it's the total opposite. I was that person in jail when the door shut every single night. I'd cry and walk out the next morning like I was the toughest bloke in that jail and ready to go to war. But the reality was I was just hiding behind this mask. And then I came outside and I started to deal with athletes, soldiers, corporates, right? Higher end people in the world's view. And what I found was they were just like me. They put on a mask and bullshit themselves. So don't judge the solution. Here's the program. Sign up, my brother. I'll see you in there tonight, 7:30. People go, this bloke wants my money. It's time management, stress management, boundaries, because I just can't spend an hour with you.
Self-worth as well.
Yeah, and that too, that self-worth for me, it means that I can give that value in that one space and not contribute it. You know, in one space I'm covering 1,000 men, 3 hours I cover 3 men. Which one do you want to choose? And same thing. Yeah, and if that was money for people that are working, say I was a personal trainer, I got $100 an hour, $300, 1,000 men at $79. I'm getting 79. Do you get my 79,000? Which one would you choose? You choose that one, and that's a financial thing. But on an educational or impact in a shorter period of time, you're going to choose that as well. So understand why we get you to make a particular choice, because that's not what you've done in your past. You haven't been decisive, and that's why you've been in the position you're
I think as well, coming off the back of that, a lot of people get in the personal development space can feel like, it should be free and everything should be free. But there's two sides of that. You're paying for experience, and if you get something for free, you don't value it as much. If someone gave you a $25,000 room at the hotel, you'd be like, this is sick. But if you had to spend that had to spend your hard time working for that $25,000, you bet you're going to enjoy it more. If like the same thing if you're talking about like impact and stuff, sometimes you've got to put skin in the game to make it real for you, so that you actually step up to the plate and you lean all the way in. And you see it all the time, especially if you're giving out free content and stuff, which is the point, is to help people. It's always the intention, right? But it's how. Sometimes it's how, because you can give someone a free guide, they're like, it's free, no value to it. But if they charge $50 or $70 for it, they go, I paid for this. It's a trade of value. And that's sometimes it's like people need that value to then step up and get the change.
Even when you give it for free to family and friends, in the past, I've done it, and I'll show up when I feel like it. And I'm like, now I just don't do it. And they're like, oh, can I do that, bro? You want me to jump in and add value to your program? I'm like, yeah, you can do it, bro. And I just send them the link. Yeah. And that's a boundary, because if you respect my business, I don't want a discount from them to learn off them. They worked hard to get what they got. That is huge value to yourself. Could actually change, save, or empower your life. And what does that actually mean? It's priceless. If he could bring in a peace to you, how good would that be? If he could bring you financial freedom to you, how good would that be? Mental health, improve your mental health, how would that be? Like it's priceless information that people just take for granted. And they go to social media, you'll get surface level from social media, just so you understand. You're never going to get the 10 layers deep in a program on social media. So understand the power of actually saying yes to yourself and stepping in. I guarantee you step into the boys program, my program yourself, it's going to be a different world.
Yeah. Well, so I've got a bit of a different spin on it. Like I 100% agree with that. But what the starting line is about, because I know the amount, like with these men's workshops I've been through, breath work, even plant-based medicine, and even some of these workshops around fitness and stuff, and being around the community, because community is massive, and that's what I'm trying to build with the starting line, because I think that's massive. I want somewhere where they can come up to the starting line, they've got good community about them, and they've got access to all these different resources around. The other part to it, though, I want to go to these bigger corporate companies and get funding for it, because I want to make these, so like let's just say a $200 workshop, it's a day event. I reckon it's probably worth $400, but they're doing it for $200 because that's what they fit to be right. But I also want it to be for those that are in the outer communities and those single mums or dads that are struggling, because it's fucking hard times at the moment.
Absolutely.
When they are looking at that program going, fuck, I'm ready for this, but I just can't sacrifice $200 over my kids. They need shoes. I'm not putting fucking food on the table as it is, but I need to go to this. So I want to be able to go, brother, reach out, fucking, I've got you. Go through the door, because that's where the transformation comes as well. It's just 100%. Stepping up to that starting one.
I've got something to add to that. And there's, Inky Johnson. So he's one of the best speakers in the world. There's a snippet from a speak he does. I'm pretty sure it's Inky Johnson. And he talks about how bad you really want it.
Yeah.
And this goes off what you're saying.
It's a video I watched for 2 years when I come home.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Straight, every day. Yeah. The same video.
I listen to it flat out. And this one he talks about...
can you give it to me? I'll put it in the link.
Yeah.
Is it how you want it better than you want to breathe?
Yep.
That's Eric, the hip hop preacher.
Yeah.
Is that
preacher? Sorry. Yeah. But basically, long story short, this mentor takes this guy out to the ocean, says, wear a suit, come down to the ocean. He goes, why would I do that? I want to get on and grow and get better. Comes down to the ocean, they go out, swim out the ocean in this suit. He goes, what the fuck am I doing here? And then dumps him underwater until he nearly suffocates, pulls him up. What the fuck are you doing, bro? Until that feeling of wanting to take a breath is one of the strongest feelings you can have in the world when you're running low on it. Said that feeling you've got, until you want that in personal growth, business, relationship, emotional, spiritual, sexual, whatever kind of growth you want, until you've got that feeling, you will not succeed. And that, same as I repeat, I've literally got it saved, and I listen to it at least once a week, I reckon, on my walks. And for me, with business, personal, and sporting, I've found someone that's doing what I want to do, and I've asked them for help.
Love that.
There's two things: asking for help and finding someone you relate to. And for me, if I was to apply for your program but I don't relate to you, I'm wasting my money. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
I've actually done training with Jake on his programs. I relate. I've absorbed it. I didn't pay for that. However, I was so fucking hungry and desperate that I wanted to breathe. And Jake saw that, so he put it forward.
Love that.
And I'm not saying Jake offers free programs. I'm saying that I was so fucking hungry and I couldn't afford it. Simple as that. But I valued it. And I think I also have paid for a lot of mentorship in business and other areas, and I value it. With the starting line, you're all right. It's that fine line. And that's why I wanted to touch on this, because
people
you can filter out the bullshit. People, oh, yeah, I really want it. No, you fucking don't.
Absolutely.
No, you don't.
Call them out on it too, in the nicest way.
You need to lose sleep over it.
I've thought about this, because you're obviously going to get it. There's going to be the Monday mornings where people are coming down off a fucking crazy weekend, done some fucked up shit, and they're going to go, I need to get to the starting line. I've heard about this. I'm fucking real, And it's free.
And you're standing at the front door like,
Nah, fuck off, go.
He's still scrolling at his socials. He's like, 1 second, I'll get down here now. I'm going to contact this bloke. We've all been there.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, and we all probably have experienced it, there's people that you've reached, mate, I've reached out to a lot of people, and you just know after a certain amount of time, that they just don't fucking appreciate it.
Mm.
They're going back to it, that, you know, and you actually feel like, fuck, I've just wasted my time. Sometimes they don't even say thank you very much for your fucking
That's
help.
huge. I call it time, energy, and effort. What you tee off into life, like a golf ball, put it down, tee, bang, and time, energy, and effort. Is it worth your time, energy, and effort? So I got to a point now, you drop in my inbox, I'll give you the solution. If you don't want it, I'm out.
Yeah.
And people might go, oh, he's ignorant, arrogant prick, or whatever it is.
Projection.
It's just time. It's value, boundaries. Like, I didn't have those before. I was you. And here's my advice. I'll say, here's my advice to template a text. Here's my advice. Be decisive. Here, I used to be that. And no judgment on yourself. Here's what I'd recommend doing. And if they don't take it, I'm out. Yeah. And because, as you said, if he's coming in and he's all in, he'll say, fuck yeah, bro, I joined up. I'll see you tonight. Boom, we're in. Yeah. And then I say to him, within a week, if you're not happy with it, tell me, I'll give you your money back, brother. Because it's more about, like you said, maybe it doesn't resonate with him and they sign up to them. That's cool. As long as they're working on themselves or committed to, I'm happy with that process.
Being proactive.
And there is no right time to do it either, man. Like, I mean, like if like a lot of people talk about this awakening and, you know, I want this transformation. My transformation's starting now. Well, the transformation started from the moment we were fucking born into this world. It's just some of us escalate and have our moments. I mean, there's times where I feel like I'm not transforming at all. I feel like I'm stuck in the fucking rut.
That's the journey.
Yeah, it's the journey, bro, you know?
It sucks, but it's so good.
Yeah. And I guess, like, you know, fucking, so even if you've reached out to Jeffrey and, you know, he might have just gave you a link to go somewhere, and then you've reached out to Jake and he hasn't got back to you. If you're really hungry, you would have then gone to fucking Real, and then you would have gone to Grades and found what's...
Or you just keep sending messages and be that annoying. That's what I did. I just keep sending messages like, I want your help.
And you got
consistency and persistency.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be that hungry for it, like you said. It's funny how crazy is it? That video, How Bad Do You Want It? It's on social media, YouTube. I watched it every day for 2 years, and people are like, are you obsessive or something? I said, no, I just wanted to remind myself of how bad I fucking wanted to change my life. And after 20 years in jail, being a bank robber, you know, smashing up society realistically, I told myself I was okay. And this whole story behind that, when I came home, I looked at everybody and they were all prisoners of their own mindset. So you think my story's fucked up? Wait till you dish that out to yourself, and then you get to your grave, and that little dash in between when you're born and when you die is filled with regret rather than life. And I started to have this realization. So I watched this 2 years straight. It was crazy. And I'd put it on every morning. I'd get up at 4. I had to drive to the gym, which was half an hour away. And it'd be the first video, and I'd watch it, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's attack the day. And, you know, from the get-go, because it's easy to forget. Oh, how bad do you want it? Yeah, I want it bad. And then a week later, like, oh, well, maybe I'll hit the alarm. It's a bit cold today and I'll sleep in, you know. So that made me get up every single morning. Oh, I got myself up, but that sort of just tacked on and reinforced and strengthened. And that's the power of having people in your space, whether it's Inky, whether it's the big fella, ET, whether it's yourselves. Learn from somebody, earn from somebody, and plug it into yourself.
So while you got the story, I've got something to share with you as well. But when did it start for you, bro? Yeah, what's it like? Give us a background, man. What was your childhood like? How did you end up
Childhood was fractured. Probably the best way of putting it. It was just here, there, and everywhere, man. And I went to a million public schools, and if I even went to school, and Mum would take me 8 hours out of Sydney, which is our hometown, Walgett. Then, you know, sort of hide me around between towns in between, and people she knew. And then you had people, and Dad doing the same thing, bouncing between houses because I think he couldn't afford rent. I sort of worked it out. He was a bad gambler. We bounced between. 12 years of age, they start to say, mate, who do you want to live with at that point in time? Or probably earlier, to be honest, probably 10. On Redfern Street, Redfern, who do you want to live with, son? I'm like, I want to live with both of you. Just shows how sort of messed up it was. Mum was dealing with the past for Aboriginal people. Dad was come over from Austria and had a crack at life. Like Grade said, just have a crack, you know. And I got big credit for him. What I recently found out about Dad, and I'll go through this story and then come back to it, but 12 years of age, I'd got physically abused by my father constantly for a good solid 4 years from the age of 8 onwards. 12 I go, I'm out. I'm on the streets, cut the streets. Now I'm doing my best to survive, just get food, in my mouth, roof over my head, nice warm bed. That leads to a life of crime. Unfortunately, us hanging around people, and we're all trying to survive. We're all street kids. They validate me in what I'm doing. I validate them. Graffiti becomes a part of it. Searching became a part of it. Distract shopkeepers, take money out the back of the place, and they wouldn't even realise to the end of the day probably. And with the amount of people's lives we would have impacted doing that was insane. To the point where I was on the run at one point in stage, came over to WA, lived here for 18 months, loved that. Scarborough Beach, beautiful. Thanks for coming. That was a good little adventure. Stayed here for, and I was an entrepreneur even back then. Like I was probably 15, 16.
You learned some good tools, man.
Yeah, no, I was over here living for 18 months. Loved it. Just got away from everyone. Got into, they got it deeper and deeper, started snatching money off bank counters, those depositing from their own businesses. Once again, same, that could have been someone's last thing and they were on their last legs. And you look back on that now, owning your own business and understanding business. I didn't understand. I just grew up in an area and I don't excuse it. And Everleigh Street, Redfern was one of Australia's most notorious streets, running riots. And I'm talking running riots with police and throwing full bricks and knowing that you could get shot by them. And we just did not care. We didn't have one care in the world. And the whole area was into crime. Your MIN number, which is your prison number, was more important than your tax file number. And I just felt safe within that boundary. So I didn't challenge myself to step out of it. 91, I'd go to jail for 12 months, stolen Porsche, get chased across Harbour Bridge. We have to go across the barrier, get a flat tyre. I served the 12 months. And when I come out, I decided to move out of Redfern. It was where I'd grown up, Everleigh Street, all my life. That Aboriginal community was very strong. I moved out of that area and I started to do my own thing. I get called every name under the sun by my own people and everybody else, and I had to just wear it and keep moving on. I just started to see that I didn't want that life anymore, and I was just like, I'm built wrong. I'm a good person. Anyone that spoke my name at that point in time said, yeah, he's a top person, good bloke, calm. But if you got the wrong side of me, I did what I had to do. And that was just how we grew up. It's just what you learned. And I look at society now, we look at these kids, you got to understand, maybe the kid's been abused at home like me, but maybe sexually and physically. I was lucky not to have the sexual abuse as far as I knew. And then have that kid run away, get out on the streets, go into survival mode, and now they're stealing and they get locked up. Lock him up, throw away the key to this kid. And I'm like, this kid's, been abused themselves and we haven't even helped them deal with that. And we're saying, you're a piece of shit. Like, lock in there, lock them up and throw away the key. We're a twisted society and it extends beyond this. But from there, for me, I just got validated from all the boys and the crew and Redfern and all of the above. When you go to jail, it was like I was a celebrity. So you think I hated jail. And then I got there and my 7 brothers were there. Happy days, son. I didn't care. Hey, what's happening? Yeah, how long you doing? And that type of normalisation of toxic conversations, we thought it was in jail. It's even worse out here. Don't worry about your mental health. Don't worry about this. Let's go drink it off. Let's go do X, Y, and Z. Let's go snort it off. Whatever it is, right? Sleep around. Eat food until you become ill yourself because you're overweight. I get to this point. In 2003, I'm arrested for the last bank robbery down in Melbourne. We're travelling down there to rob this bank. We robbed that bank under police surveillance, so they watched us rob the bank. We come out and cars up on the gutter. I slide across the car thinking Duke's a hazard. When you look back, I've got to admit, it is. You think
that was a good one.
How cool is this? They should have got that on camera. And but just so we're clear, I was built wrong. So at that point in time, that's how I thought. Like you might say, oh fuck this bloke, right? But the reality is that's just how I was built. So I thought it was cool.
How you're programmed.
Bundle of money in my backpack, programmed that way. We're all programmed in society. We'll talk about this later. But in general, my program was that. So you reckon with the money on my back sliding across the car is not cool? Fuck, and having the M5 waiting for me, knowing that we're about to get away with this robbery. Bang, we jump in the car, we get chased, and next minute go into town and we think it's all cool, and I turn around and I see all these men in black running towards me. That I think they're called Star down there. I can't SOGs actually, and they're like down on the ground and bang, foot on the back of the head, and bloke at that point in time actually took the gun out. Detective clipped it and then just dropped the gun next to my head, and I was like, mate, don't do it, buddy. And he's looking at me and he just went like that. They end up getting disbanded, and a lot of people say they wouldn't do that. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. When you're in that world, you understand that world and the level of that. And I'm not saying that there isn't good police out there doing great things and the right thing, but there's a lot that will say, well, stuff them anyway. They're bank robbers and they're no good. The reality is, if you understand how we're built as kids growing up, we take those habits through our life. And if you get your kid to eat bad food or fast foods or whatever it is, by the time they're older, they're going to be fat and they're going to be unhealthy and they're going to get teased at school, as an example. So before you judge me and say, oh, this bloke, he's no good, stuff this podcast, listen to the habits of the young kid growing up and what they went through, and how can we create solutions? Because we seen a story the other day of a 12-year-old kid on the street and they're getting the same thing, Well, look at this kid. He should be making better choices. From what role modeling do you want that kid to make those choices? I'd love to know. And that's, it doesn't excuse the behaviour, because I look back on it and I can't even believe I was that person. But just understand, as society, we can have, if you've got judgment, you've got the solution. How about you sit with that kid or that person or that community or men or women or whoever it may be, and actually pass that solution on so it can be a better world. But
just on that, as you were saying, so Dr. Bouris Lipton says, talks about the subconscious mind. So from the ages of 0 to 7, just for all those viewers listening, is the imprinting period where your brain's in a state of theta, and it's literally like a sponge downloading what it means to be a human being based on your caregivers, your environment, and the people close to you or the people that you look up to. So if you're in an environment that is toxic, that normalizes bad behavior, that is going to be who you are. And then you shift. So that's from the ages of 0 to 7. You literally build your foundational core belief system, what it means to be a human being through that period. Then you move into the socialization period from 7 to 14. This is where you are more susceptible, whatever the word's called, to influence. So that means you're looking at for people that you think are cool in your environment, social media, TVs or anything else like that, what it's normalized in your friendship group. So it's not always like if you were to make this relatable to Jeff, it's not always about that person. If it's about what environment that they've been brought up with, because that's going to forge who they become. And then it moves again into a different period after it's the modeling period, which is 7 to 14, then the socialization, which is 7 to 21. And that is literally your blueprint on how it means to be a human being. Last example would be if you brought let's say we bring a kid up in Japan and we bring a kid up in Australia. You bring these kids up in both good homes with good morals and values, and then you swap them. They're going to be completely two different human beings, because that family and that culture is going to have a different set of belief systems, a different set of values, and so are these people. So,
and off the back of that,
great explanation. Unbelievable.
Yeah, thanks, JD. And reflecting, like I relate a lot to what you're saying as well, the way you get brought up, and we say it a lot on this podcast, you don't know until you know. So these kids, that's all we know. That's all we knew.
We'd all be millionaires if we've got the information there. I just didn't have the information. Yeah. So I would have been excuse the dicky arm. It's getting warm in here. I'm taking it off. I'm not doing something to cover my face like I used to. But on a real note,
Dukes a hazard.
Yeah,
across the table.
We'd all be millionaires, right? Because there's information out there from whether it was Mark Bouris, we were talking about Marky before. So many others on social media that put it out there. But we just don't have the right network or environment to allow that to occur.
Yeah. Because I feel like relating it to myself, that's some of the hardest things to actually go through, man. Like when you start waking up, you're like, what the fuck? I can remember looking back and going, holy fuck. I thought that was normal.
Yes.
Or even a really simple one like anxiety. Fuck, I just thought this fight or flight mode, living it 24/7 is normal. And I'm still now at my age of 42 trying to actually fucking go through a lot of work of thinking, no, you don't need to be in this struggle, fight and flight 24/7, even when things aren't going around, like always thinking something bad's going to happen, something's going to, when you see cop cars, anxiety straight away. I still get
Still same.
Especially if they're behind you.
I'm fucking heart pounding.
And they're like, I've got nothing on me. What's wrong with you?
There's always like, fuck, have I covered everything? Is everything sweet?
Going off that and what you said, Jeff, about like, looking at a young kid or an adult in jail or whatever and their past and how they've been programmed and brought up, why I love the Phoenix so much is why it's tattooed on the back of my neck is because it resembles rebirth.
Yeah, love that.
And for me, if you want to change your life, from a cliched perspective, you need to rebirth yourself because, like Jake said, from 1 to 7, you're a sponge, you're absorbing everything, your values, everything is embedded there. And if you haven't had the right role model and you've got to change it, you've got to rebirth that 1 to 7. If you're 30, 42, 56, 70, 80, whatever, you've got to go through that rebirth. Yeah.
I got a great quote for that. In order to become who you're destined to be, you have to let go of who you once were.
Yeah.
Which is like meaning, and it's so fucking hard. I remember even transitioning, you got to it's like you feel like you got to let go of friendships. You got to let go of all your comfort, all your vices, all the things that you used to have for safety. You've got to let go of it. It's like a little kid like trying to lose his toy. And then when you let go of it, you finally step into it. It's okay. So I fucking love that, Graydon.
It was hard for me, and I'd actually like to get your view on this, Jeff. But for me, when I made a transition from some unhealthy habits that I had, some unhealthy lifestyles, I had to distance myself from some friends. Still to this day, I got so much love for those friends. But the problem was that I wasn't feeling the respect from them for making this decision. And that's why the distance had to be placed there. And yeah, I heard all sorts of things said about me, all sorts of things, rumours made, everything. And ignoring it and continuing the journey I was on, that hip-hop preacher, E.T., that got me across the line a few times and I wanted to quit.
Gonna want it better than
But it's not easy. It's so hard. But things worthwhile don't come easy. But what those guys are saying, like I still have so much respect for them. Still to this day, I have so much love for them. But, it was so hard to not fall into what they were saying. You mentioned when you kind of were leaving that street come up on and a lot of people, your own people, resented you. How did you feel about that and what got you through it? Because for me, that was probably one of the hardest steps, honesty, for 100%. Me. But I wanted to hear
it came at a time where Mum had cancer, so it was more about Mum at that point in time. And I sort of moved. I always lived with Mum at that point in time. As I got older, I started, and Mum had cancer, so I was back with her, and she'd moved out of the area. So I shouldn't say she moved out of the area. She got another place out of the area, and we still had the family home, 88 Everly Street. So we were still able to be there. But I just went. It became easy for me in that sense, where Mum was there, I was happy. But I just went. I started to ask questions at 16. Is this what you really want? What you've learned, is it really how? Is there more to life? Surely, how do people... I loved, luxury cars back then. We're getting them and using them for our robberies and all of the above, right? Ram raids. But in general, I was looking at all these people and I was saying, is that what I really want? Yeah, I've grown up with them and if they go through a hard time, I've got their back. If you got cancer or something of that nature and I can do something to help you out in any way, shape or family or your family, that's what true friendship's about. But going down and saying, let's get on a bender together. Well, and I know that you've got kids and you've got a missus now. We get on a bender together. Some blondie comes over and you're sleeping in the bedroom with her and I say nothing about it. Are we really friends? And I started to question that sort of stuff and I was like, this is messed up. Staunch and loyal. We had that about jail. And then I'd be staunch and loyal to my kids by going to jail. No, you weren't. So I started to see these oxymorons and go, there's something
not right.
This doesn't sit right with me. I don't feel good. And it was hard, man. There was times I cried, and a lot of people don't know that because people would say stuff about me. And you were my brother, and you're saying stuff about me. Now I'm like, why would he say that? Like in my head. And I never spoke about it to anybody. I just wore it and I'd shed a tear by myself, and there'd be times I'd be sitting in stolen cars, I'm not joking, crying. And to me that was just how twisted and sad it was during that period. But then when you saw me, I had chest out and what's happening, boys? Yeah, sweet, all life's good. And as you get older, you start to realise mental health is that. We all wear that balaclava, and when we walk out to the world, or women put on their makeup, they hide behind their face, of,
that facade,
what they're going through.
So what's the message in there? As you're saying, like we talk about wearing these masks, because I think in all different walks of life, if we're talking about this transformation period of leaving mates or family behind with this old identity is huge, man.
I didn't have it. That's why I went out and I got it from the boys. Yeah. And vulnerability is strength was my message, because I started to go, wait, we don't do that in Redfern. You fucking just, you man up and you go straight up the middle. And I just started to say, no, I don't care what somebody thinks of me. I just don't care. And it became a superpower. Like, it's huge. And that was how I transitioned.
Because we need that need to fit in. You know what I mean? That's why
I didn't have to fit into anybody. And I've got a saying on the back of your saying, you ain't anybody until you are you.
That's beautiful.
Which means,
I like that.
like we all say that, I am me, but I'm trying to impress Grades, Grades 1 second, Blakey the next. What for? Impress yourself. And people go, that's selfish. And I'm like, fucking oath it is. And I'm going to be that all day, every day. And organically, whether it's in business, mental health, relationships, we can all influence each other in the right way, or we can put the flu into somebody and fuck them up the wrong way. Let's go bend a brother. Oh, we'll get them blondies to come past again. Please, like it doesn't really serve yourself when your missus walks out the door with the 2 kids who don't have the father there anymore. So, and now the mental health issues that are already in the world because the cost of living and whatever else is going on in your world, they go into your invisible backpack, they become heavy. Now she's found out about the blondie, she's out. Now you don't get to see your kids. Now you tell me how heavy your world is. So understand what you're choosing, you end up losing.
And on that note, so where does it come in? So a lot of me with my transformation, when you find this new identity about yourself, then you believe in yourself, you're putting yourself first, setting some boundaries and believing in this new identity of it. Then comes the guilt and shame of the past. Well, for me it did. It's like, fuck, man, I've done this. And this realisation, fuck, I can't, because at the time I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't mean to, you were talking about the money. This guilt and shame stuff.
Hey, I'll give you a great tool, and this is what we teach people. How can you act from a space where you're not educated from? Do you understand? So why should I be ashamed of? I was operating beyond my level of education around what I knew. But I just didn't know how to operate in this level. So respect for my partner or my wife back then, I grew up without respect. Where do I find respect?
Yeah, that
unless
makes sense.
I sit with him or someone that has it. He's a great father, and then I started to sit with him and go, oh, that's how he treats his kids. That's how he talks to his wife. That's how you operate your business. But for me, I didn't have it, so I don't beat up on what I didn't have. So people say, what would you say to your old self? I'd say I'm fucking proud of that kid that stood up to a whole new level and became an entrepreneur at 12. And yeah, it was destructive. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that I recognized the good that came from it, and I didn't have the tools to, that little machine, the machine that picks up those toys in the shopping centres.
Yeah.
My brain was going like this, and it's going, solution. Where the fuck's the solution? It just wasn't there. So how can I be sorry for something I didn't know the answer to? Does that make sense? Don't beat up for everybody out there on who you weren't or weren't educated to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
It's like saying, be a millionaire now. Why aren't you a millionaire? And you're like, oh, shit, I'm shit for the rest of my life. I never got to become a millionaire. Maybe it's not important to yourself. One, I'd say, fuck, go out and do everything around your passion and whatever comes of it. If that's millions, great. And it'll create the life you want, because money isn't everything. It's a conversation I always hear, full of shit. You pay your bills. How do you eat? Would you like to take your kids to Disneyland or travel more or pay your house off in a year? Do something that you got so much passion. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. But going back to that conversation, it'll build a better you. And that means you're operating from, I didn't know at that point in time how to respond in that situation. What I have recognized is the gap I've got. Now I'm going to start to fill that with knowledge, information, education, inspiration, motivation, whatever it is, every single day. And that's what I can do from this point on.
I actually like that, because from my perspective, and again, just talking about my own personal growth, I sat there way too long. So what I'm hearing from you, which is a very good point, is like, fucking accept it, see it, but move on. Like fuck it. You were only doing your best at what you had. You know, where I've found a lot of my suffering has come from because I just keep going back there. Fuck, man, I fucked up. I done that. You know, we're around kids or business, and even some of the shit I done back in New Zealand and stuff like that was, you know, but sitting there too long isn't the answer. I mean, it's good to sit there if you're ready to do the work and let it out and be, you know, forgive that self for you. I found like a lot of.
I think for me, like another personal experience is that intentionality, like being intentional.
Absolutely.
For that step. Huge. And for me, you know, a quick story which I haven't shared before. I think I might have shared to you guys behind the mics, but going through a breakup, I was a very dark place, and I remember went to the pub. You can't blame external people. It's always on yourself.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like my ex, like I don't blame her because I attracted that. You know, it's my own fault to a certain extent. But instead of going to a healthy option, I went to the option I knew, to the pub, right? And still to this day, I 100% back that it is an unhealthy option to vent through alcohol. Celebrate one thing, vent, suppress the opposite. But at the pub, all my mates would just say, we'll get another pint, you know, let's do some shots. Let's just let loose, man. Just let your hair down, you know. Meanwhile, I'm so fucking depressed, man. And I remember just sitting there and just knocking pints like as much and quick as I could.
Wow.
And I remember driving my Harley home, and I was doing about 160 in the wet, and I remember just hardly being able to see the white line. And I remember just thinking, if I come off, I don't give a fuck. And I wouldn't quite say it was suicidal. It was just giving up. I was like, I just don't give a fuck, man. If I come off, I come off. And I had the red and blues as well, and I sped past them. And for me, I look back on that like I had a choice. We all have a choice. And I had a choice to either go to the pub or try and find and reach out to people that wouldn't use that as advice, which is what I did eventually. But like you said, it's been intentional and taking that action where it's like the people around me, if they're not going to help me to where I need to go, respect them, love them, put some space there, find some other person that will fucking get me where I need to go and be intentional.
Edit and delete those relationships. So it means minimize the time there, and delete means just, man, like cut. When I changed my life, I deleted everyone's numbers. You know, blokes that I could go on bender with, blokes that I could get off, and old school blokes from the day, just cut everyone out. And then, you know, there's days I'd go back and go, like yourself, fuck it, let's have one night, me and you. So it's my birthday. And I'd go there and I'd go, fuck, I've got no one's number. And then I'd like, fuck it, it's not meant to be. And I'd step away from it. Because if you don't do that, you go back to what you know. And what he knew was, I'm going to down this and it's going to make me feel numb, like he said. And he drove along that highway fucking numb. And sometimes that temporary moment becomes a forever moment. And that means if he came off his bike, he wouldn't be here having this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's simple, but not easy. You know, it's no different to like weight loss, right? If your vice is chocolate, you're removed from the house, it's a lot harder to have, isn't it?
That's why, and on that subject, it's important to educate yourself so that you got the tools when the moment arises. So you're not reactive and, what do I do now, brother? You're getting chased by a lion, which means you're under stress. And I'm saying, Grades, what's your goals, brother? What's your aspirations? He's like, fuck that, run for your life, brother. The lion's coming, right? No one's talking about it in that moment. But if you're already set, and you've done the work on yourself prior to, this is the importance of personal development, you're always ready. So when I hit it, I don't go, fuck, let's go bend and get on a drink and cheat, and now Sarah finds that message and I'm done. I just don't, I've got the tools to do it. And I'm like, all right, here's the processes. And I've got 10 different tools at least. I call it the layered approach, having 10 different exits in the building. One exit's burning, and even if 9 were burning, I can walk out the other one. No stress.
We talk about like also living in a higher frequency. Once you get used to living at that higher frequency, you sort of don't really. You sort of look back and go, "Fuck, it's not worth going back there." I actually fucking loving life right now. Things are tough.
That's exactly what Jake and I were talking about before we jumped on the mic. And for me personally, this is a personal experience that may not be relatable, but when it comes to drinking, I don't drink anymore.
Yep.
And I'm an all-in, all-out personality, a lot like yours, Dave. And for me, it was either all in or all out. But I found like I got to the stage where I could have a couple
Yeah.
And I was like, I just had a few beers, but then I wake up the next morning with a lower frequency.
Yeah,
And because
absolutely.
I was so hypersensitive of it, I was like, I wasn't depressed, I wasn't hungover, I wasn't coming down, but I was like, I just feel a little bit heavy, and I didn't like it. And I'm like, life is too fucking short to not wake up every day on a high. Doesn't mean every day is a good day. I still have bad days. I still have terrible days, but I also have amazing days. But every day my frequency can handle whatever day comes at me.
Love that.
And for me personally, a few beers lowers that. And I'm like, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. Now, this is my experience. That's how my body responds to alcohol. That's might not be relatable to some people. But also, if you're listening and you're having a couple of beers and you wake up the next morning, you're not hungover, but you can't do anything, just maybe take a think back and go, maybe I don't. Maybe have a non-alcoholic beer. Maybe have sparkling water like I do. Wake up the next morning and get after it and then see how good you feel.
Love it. Yeah. You got to try it to know what it feels like. And then people are like, Morgs, don't you think about it no more? And I was like, no. Well, I was having one beer on a Friday night watching the footy as an example at home. And then I'd start to think, I could just have a little bag here by myself and I'll be right. No one will know. Maybe a couple. And so your thoughts go into this dimension that it shouldn't go into. And it came to a year where the Corona, 6-pack of Corona sat in my fridge. When I peeled it, I pulled it out. It actually peeled off and the bottom stuck to my fridge. I was like, fuck, what do you got it there for? And I gave it to one of the boys that came. I said, you drink it, you take it, but I don't want it. You know, and for me, I got to that point where that circle then, even the bloke I gave it to, I started to cut out because the same thing. They were dealing with their emotions through alcohol, bender and toxic behaviours. And I was like, so that's your circle.
Not what you want to be
and
around.
what you, 100%. You become what you're around and you become what you think, say, do, act, feel, believe. And for me, I just went, if I believe that that person's in my warranted of being in my space, I'm accepting that. And it's only a matter of time before I say, yeah, fuck it, bro, let's go, let's party. So it took a good friend of mine one day, Bendrin, looks at me and says, Morgs, you know, I had a TV show about health at the time. And people might not want to hear this, but it's not just me, it's the whole industry, the reality check, right? We're talking and preaching health, but here I was bendering on weekends. And when I say weekends, I justified it by saying I only do it long weekends. So I'm not affecting anybody, but I'm telling everyone, here's how you look after you. You're full of shit, you know. And I didn't sit well inside, and that disease, and my disease was mental health, and that, you know, and then to say that you didn't have it, fuck that. I come from Redfern, we don't get mental. I'm fucking tough. I'll fight mental health all day. That's bullshit. Man up, toughen up. Bullshit. You're full of shit. So how do you do it? You educate yourself around what you need to be doing to step into the pillars of your own life to become the greatest version of you for you.
Yeah. And on that note, man, like I want to know a bit about your primal warrior, because this is no shit, man. I had a mate who I haven't really spoken to in about a year, but this is literally text me this this morning, bro. I see you're a speaker of the Mental Gala in Perth. So he doesn't even know it's the Gala with the starting line. He's just heard about it. And he goes, with Jeffery Morgan. He goes, Jeffery is the owner and main facilitator of Primal Warrior that I'm a part of. Primal Warrior is an online-based community for men supporting men. Give me a call. Let's connect you both and trying to get him on the podcast. And I go, no shit, bro. He's on the podcast this morning, man. So yes, it's printed out.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But one thing I would say with that is there's so many men out there, like, you know, Gray just said, that won't take the step because you or me. Fuck that. I don't need help, brother. Fucking tell me what to do, bro. And it's like, you know, fucking, nah, you good? Yeah, I'm good. How much is in your bank account? Fucking minus, right? I was that person saying I was good, clicking the petrol, you know, looking at my bank account before I pull up and go, $16.45. All right, $16.40, and fuck it. It went over, I'm not joking, $16.40 out. I'll never forget the story. And I'm going, fuck. And searching the car for 5 cents. And the bloke goes, hey, mate, just come into the thing. And I walked in and I'm like, yeah, mate. And he goes, you're 5 cents short, aren't you? And I said, yeah, man. And he goes, don't worry about it. And he put 5 cents in the till. But don't be that person. That's on a micro level. What about your mental health? If you say I'm good and I'm operating from this level and don't worry about it, all's good, that's where we lose. And I think the first step and recommended step is to challenge your first thought. So whatever your first thought is, fucking the biggest lie to yourself. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm too tough. I'm too strong. I don't need your
Can you give
advice.
us a scenario of that?
Yeah, so if you say it like, I'm like coming to Primal Warrior and the bloke goes, oh, no, I'm all good, bro. Challenge that thought, because it's how you're built, and you'll always answer from how you're built and your habits. The limbic brain component versus the prefrontal cortex. And what we're building into ourselves is what we're accepting, and then what we're accepting is what we've known for a long time, and that trauma creates an emotion that leads to a behavior. That behavior says, I don't fucking need your help. I'm good. And even though in the background you're fucked up mentally and you might be able to back end this, you'll say that I'm okay, or I don't need that, or whatever it is at that point in time. Challenge that and say, what I've just said to myself is wrong. Write it on paper, subconscious to conscious. Very important, because ask yourselves, how long you've been thinking about doing something? Oh, fuck, I've been thinking about traveling to Europe for how long? 5 years. Well, if it hasn't happened for 5 years, what will be different in the next 5 years based on your behaviours or behavioural change that will change that and that outcome? And once you understand that, some people said, fuck, I haven't done it forever, bro. I said, well, if you haven't done it, you want to do it. When would it happen if you don't change your behaviour? So understanding the first response is how you're built during those years, those formative years. And what ends up happening is that's what you accept. What you accept, you regret. You need to design your life. And if you don't know the answers, that's it. That's a sign you need a coach, a guide, a mentor, a podcast, whatever it is that you can grab and resonate with, like you said before, and implement it and do it consistently and fuck up that first thought consistently. Write it out, subconscious to conscious, and then create the first step to it. And if you go to the first step and your brain's going like this, that's your sign, coach, mentor, guide, because they're going to plug that into yourself, that value that you don't have.
I'd like to share a story on that.
Yeah.
You mentioned about your example of I'm all good, bro.
Yeah.
Calling them out. I don't really want to share this, but I need to. And Jake and I share an office, and I remember this is a while ago, and for the privacy of other people involved. But
this is the R section of the podcast.
So I got to the office, and at that stage of my life, without getting too much detail, my partner had just fallen pregnant. My businesses weren't doing well. Basically, the walls were coming in on me. Yeah. And I've got mentors in every area. I've done so much personal growth. Doesn't mean fuck all. You still have a bad day, right? And another mentor in my life mentions the white belt mentality. It's always important to have that white belt mentality, which allows your ego to take a seat. Walked in, Jake said something. You're up, bro. No, I'm fine. I was far from fucking fine. But you were persistent, and you were like, what's up? Like, what's up? And this goes to show, like you're saying, call them out, but also who's around you to do that. Because, a couple of years ago, I can honestly say I wouldn't have had someone that was persistent, like, no. What's going on, bro? You're not right. And forcing it from love, but to help someone open out. Well, you end up, like, we're busy guys. You're a busy dude at the time. I remember you turned your laptop off and you turned and faced me. And for, 2 hours, we dived into it. I cried. We went through all sorts. I come out of there feeling fucking good.
Bang.
Yeah, you had the tools under your belt to help me, for sure. But even if you didn't and you just would fucking wanted to listen, but you called me out essentially on my bullshit, trying to suppress it, trying to be that tough dude, you called me out. And so, like you said, it's important if someone comes in and be like, I'm all right, bro. I don't need your program. Yeah, you fucking do, man. Let's talk about it.
And I think coming off the back that if you think about it, we wear facades. Facades are built for safety. So when you're coming in, and we wear a facade because we're trying to avoid the thing that we're actually trying to avoid. Absolutely. So you could have the tough guy mentality, I'm fucking good, but deep down inside, the reason why that I act that way is because I've had a scared little boy that was bashed and bullied as a kid.
100%.
So now that I've created a facade of I need to get strong or whatever, and this is coming from me, you know what I mean? My little kid was bullied, always strong, athletic, fat kid, didn't feel like he fit in. So I was like, and I remember to this day, it was like getting bullied at the rugby club, and I was got bashed, came back, asked my mum for help. And no, it's all good. And we've had a chat about this, went out there, got bashed again, went and asked for help, crying, went out there, they go to bash me again, fucking lost my mind, bashed all the kids by myself. And that little boy, when we're talking about it, learnt that, I've got to have my back. I've got to be strong. So that scared little boy went throughout his course of his life. You know, like every time that I was in an environment, my objective was I'd just attack straight away, because deep down, you know, my front was warrior, strong, but my inside, the reason why I was that way is because my little boy was scared, hurt. So we put on these facades for protection to avoid what's really going on for us. And sometimes it's so painful. That's why people always deflect. Either they deflect with, nah, I'm all good, bro. They'll laugh it off. But people always will have a way to deflect to avoid what's really, really fucking going on.
It's huge. See that circle? That's like, imagine that being your limbic brain. That's the experience in life. Something happens within your life, and now you go through the loop. You think about it. I call it fear, right? Feelings, emotions, action, reaction. So you'll feel something like you felt, then there's an emotion attached. You're sad, he's angry, he's scared, whatever it is. Then you have an action, fighting, whatever it is, fight, whatever it may be. And then you have a reaction. Stuff this, you know, I feel shit after that, or I feel, there's a response from the club. So that feeling, and use that fear analogy. What you can do is you take that negative, you write it out, and then you write the positive. We're talking about structuring yourself so you've got that ready to go when it happens. You're not reactive, it's already built in you. Then write it out in a positive sense. The same scenario of what happened to him to happen for him, which meant it was a positive.
That's really
cool.
And
if you're in that limbic, you know, that circle, you basically go through that loop every day. You wake up in the morning, you go through that whole emotion, and then you go through, I'm going to put whatever song it is on that kickstarts yourself, and you think about that young kid or your breakup or your business failure or whatever it is that you feel happened to you, and you'll go through that emotion. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's ringing somebody else and sleeping around and giving your body up, and then later on in life you feel that you weren't, because you just let your body be taken by so many men or women, and even men do it. And we do it because we want to feel good for the moment, but then we're still in the loop because we haven't changed or got off that roundabout. We're just in that same roundabout. So all you got to do, identify it, write it out, take the first step. If you don't have it, reach out to a coach, guide, mentor.
Love that.
Period.
Fuck yeah. The one thing about this podcast, man, I always sit here back and I'm just like, fuck, I get so much from it. Even though I'm doing this work myself and that, but just to hear that, it's like, yeah, man, that's it. And hearing a different perspective on it every time as well. It's like, fuck, that's a good way of putting it too. Jakey, tell us a little bit more about your story, man. I mean, I know a lot about it, but we haven't actually, if you don't mind, bro.
Yeah,
a little bit about, just so people to get a little bit more of an understanding, mate. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I guess like if you take it back, growing up, split parents, never really had a solid foundation. So mum did everything in her power to help us, but what she didn't realise, or what me and my brother didn't realise, it was never really had support or care. Even though that she tried, but we didn't feel that way. We know that she did the best that she could, but we didn't feel that way. So Dad, who we've built a relationship with now, he was suffering with anxiety, depression, suppressed himself with alcohol. Don't think he did drugs, maybe, don't know. Then he projected his fear of abandonment, not good enough for love, kind of came onto us. So that was kind of like the steps, like the foundations of what I was brought up. So I didn't feel like I had much. So what I realized that I learned pretty much to medicate with food. Food was my medication. It was my escape to feel good. Long story short, that was like the foundations. And then I grew up, fat, nerdy kid that was bullied, that was really athletic. It was like a conundrum, bro, just really, really fast, best at shot put, super athletic, fat nerd. It was weird, to some degree. So people were just like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'd go in like the rugby club, win like the first 100-meter races.
Yeah. Want to race? Race your day, Jakey.
It'd be the sort of mate going, I bet you my mate beats you.
Let me just put down my fried chicken.
I know on the Gala night, if he says 100-meter race, I'll be like, oh, ankle's playing up.
And then that kind of like eventuated into like the first, like we go through our life, our hero's journey, and the first imprint for me was, like didn't feel like I quite fit in. You know, I was bullied at the rugby club, decided that I needed to be strong and that no one's going to help me. That same mentality was like kind of like, you know, led into school, you know, and then in school where, you know, like you try to fit in, be one of the cool kids. And that slowly started when I started martial arts at the age of 15. I realized the same thing that, you know, I remember, and I can bring it back to this and I have to summarize. I remember I was crying in my brother's bedroom. I was, you know, home alone. And I was playing a game called Death Jam. So I think it's like Death Jam. And it's pretty much gangsters going into a fucking game and they all bash each other. And I made a fighter that, you know, that I decided this is like the law of manifestation and in action too. I was like, I made a fighter. I was like, of everything that I wish I was. He was good looking. I was this fat little kid, like, that cunt's fucking good looking. Can fight. I wish I could do that. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know, and I remember tears boiling down my face. And I was just like, someday I'm going to be like that person. And I made such a powerful, conscious decision. I was like, no matter what. Fast forward back into like when I was 15, 17, I started to become that. I didn't even realise. You know, I started martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai fighting, started to do that. And then I realised even when I was in year 12, I was like, oh, I manifested this fucking motherfucker. I was like, it's coming real. But anyway, the story keeps going on. You know, there you are. You know, same thing, grew up with a distorted childhood. I remember no parents, never really had guidance or mentoring, do you know what I mean? Dad wasn't there, mum had her own demons, so it was just I kind of had to figure it out for myself, you know. And then my brother, he was going out night clubbing and he just said, it's a fucked up world out there, bro. You just got to do everything that you can. And what I learned was watching Green Street Hooligans, so, you know what I mean? And all the kickboxing, so I was like, oh yeah, so this is what we've got to kind of do. So we'd go out to parties being the fat nerdy kid that was a gamer still that got to age 17 been watching Green Street Hooligans. So I was like completely shift from like leaving land world to going out and smashing on every weekend. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that same like mentality of like, you know, not feeling good enough for love, body shaming, body dysmorphia, wearing that facade of like, I've got to be strong, I've got to be this warrior, led me into like, same thing, you go like you start at 17, you start bashing everyone, and you get into the nightclub, start bashing everyone there, you start to get recognised. And my brother got pulled by one of the biggest gangs at the time, and he joined to protect me because he was the same, didn't feel good enough for love. And I guess in short, you know what I mean, like that led into gangs, joined I don't know if I'll comment what club, but I joined at the age of like 20, and there was all of our friendship groups joined up, and then at the age of 21 I was the youngest patch member. And then you know, think about that same thing. And deep down I've got this little nerdy kid that's lovable and super soft, caring and loving. Everyone always like, you know, the people that were close to me like, you're so beautiful, but the same thing, people would project you're a piece of shit because of what they perceive. Being in gang life comes with its own problems, running through houses, bashing drug dealers and all the things, and toxic environment. And most gang, not all, they're just all scared little men with the same fucking mentality. They've had all these layers, all these facades. I'm okay. They normalise shitty behaviours and shit like that. Again, it's a way of fitting in and doing all those things. So I guess, yeah, that was kind of my life till about age 20, 25, and then I just 23. I was $40,000 in debt. Graydon said this story probably 10,000 times. $40,000 in debt. $40,000 in debt. Was on grievous bodily harm charges. Lost my girlfriend. I was a fly in, fly out. Got fired for being in a gang. Pretty much it happened to me twice, and I needed the money so bad. You know, I was struggling to make ends meet. There was a point where, you know, you were hustling to try to. And I was shit at hustling too. I could just fight so bad. So shit trying to hustle to make ends meet. And then it was just like, it came to a point, and I just remember all the boys had moved out of the house and was just sitting on the edge of the bed. The house was disgusting. I just started crying. I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're better, kind of sort of like what you said, you're like questioning, like, what am I doing here? And I was like, who are you? I was like, that's not all this shit that you're doing in this life. It's not even who you fucking are. You're still this beautiful person with a big, kind, loving heart. And I just remember tears rolling down my face. You know what I mean? I was like, just fucked, you know. And I was just like, this is what I credit because martial arts could have been always consistent even through all of that stuff. And as I wanted to fall into the biggest pity party of all fucking time, I just wanted to be like, yeah, this is fucked. I hate my life. And I was just like, as that came, and Graydon would have heard this again, that voice came knocking on my shoulder. I was like, it was the warrior, you know what I mean? It was the warrior archetype and all the martial arts. He was like, you got yourself into this fucking mess. You can get yourself out. You created this. You can fix this. And all that years of martial arts got something into me, and I realised in that moment, it didn't matter what was happening out there. As long as I controlled what happened in here, my life would change. So next day, cleaned the house up, got on fucking Google, fixed my resume, how to become successful. And then I just was like, fucking read a book, realised that you get unmotivated, read a book on mindset. And then I was like, can't fucking remember anything that I'm saying. Read a book on how to retain information, and it just slowly started stacking on there.
Love it.
And I think it was.
Now.
Hey,
and where you
to go back in, like you fast forward from like 2015 when I left the club. Obviously owned 2 gyms. Be More Fitness, when we're on a journey to transform 100,000 people's quality of lives. Obviously, I work as a men's coach as well, helping people overcome, like trauma, limiting beliefs, fear, feelings of not good enough, shame, guilt, all the things as well. But yeah, it was just pretty much that big journey from leaving the club. And I can honestly say, I missed a key point. I was a gang member at Tony Robbins in Sydney. And I was just and we were just on a bender, snorting cokes and fucking hookers, and then we went to the Tony Robbins with no sleep. And then,
man, respect, because I wouldn't have made it. Sorry, Tony, but true story. Back in the day, there were so many times the boys would say, "Fuck, we going there." Oh, fuck, you're going there. Because, I couldn't leave. I was like, I need to be here, but.
Yeah. I like that you pointed that out because it has a lot of respect, right?
Oh my God.
Wow. I wouldn't have gone.
That's self-accountability.
Yeah.
I've said I'm going to do something. We're doing it. Doesn't matter if I
and it was literally, that's when my life changed too, and that's why.
Even all that combo, the integrity behind your word and stuff of that nature. And I had that moment in the back of a prison truck. I'd been found guilty in Melbourne, and I'd fought the trial. I was going to lie, and I got the boys to come and say something. They didn't come to say something, and I sort of had a realisation, fuck, if this is who I'm relying on, and I mean that respectfully to them, they chose that life and they continue to do that life. They're currently serving or in the middle of, they've been through, I think, 4 or 5 court cases. They got 19 years with 17 years or something like that, 17 years with 14 years on the bottom. So they have, let's say, 9 at the worst, at best, to still go, but they're out on bail currently, got to go back to court. And I'm just like, fuck that. So I had that realisation in that back of the truck, and like yourself, I sat there just tears rolling down. It was a Friday night. They picked me up late from court, and I was like, fuck, man, is this what you want? Like, and then you have those thoughts around. I'd never really thought about it, and even then, when I thought about it, I didn't think about it. And I was like, fuck it, do you want to do something to yourself in here and that's it? Or do you want to make something of your life? And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. Fuck that. I'll make something of my life. And I just worked out when I walked out, bloke from uni was there, want to do a uni degree. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like yourself. I was constantly, and that's, take that from his lesson, my lesson. Every day, Google shit, man. If you have to, watch jump on YouTube. Hey,
there's no excuse nowadays. Big podcast. There's so much out there. Like I'm extremely dyslexic, and reading is a struggle.
Yeah,
Jake and I every morning we send out takeaways as an accountability.
Yeah,
I only read 2 to 5 pages.
Yeah, beautiful.
But I still read. The podcast, man, I abuse those things. I listen to probably now 2 hours a day.
Yeah,
but when I first started, I was listening 4 to 6 hours a day. And I was working as a mechanic, but if I'm under a truck, AirPods in, podcast. Like, there's no excuse.
And how much did it help you?
Oh, man. Even now, I quote from podcasts. It's insane.
He spoke about social media back in the days. We didn't have social media, or we didn't have
Nokia
Google or nothing.
3310.
Not even back in the day. You rang on the home phone. And mate, it's good. There was one thing about it. I'll meet you up the park at 4 o'clock. You had to leave early to get there to make sure that meeting would meet. Because if you missed, that was it. Sure. And if we were in a crew, we were going to walk around and climb on trees or something as a kid, you missed out with your mates. So you were there on time and all of the above. But in general, I can't recommend every single day. You've got to have a plan. I have a planner, and that planner will have personal development, business development, family, friend time, me time, those sorts of things. Then I'll shade it, I colour it, so that you know that your life's balanced. Because people talk about, balance your life out. Fuck, have a look in colours.
Is this something physical?
Just in a basically a form I've created, and I just put that out there, and I can. All my coaching clients will all do it. They send it in by Friday for the following week, Friday evening, and that way they know what's coming for the next week, because it's your GPS to life. You jump in a car, you don't know the destination, like me coming here today. I turn on the GPS. Why do we do it? In that little moment, but not in life. And if you don't do it in life, you get lost. You ever been lost? You're frustrated. You're stressed out. Where are we going? I don't fucking know. Turn our GPS on. Well, who wants that? You want that in your life? My suggestion to yourself: create a weekly planner, put personal development into it, and is there moments under a car or somewhere where it's safe for yourself to do so, to be able to just throw the earpods in and start to tune into something that we never had as kids. That was my whole point to this story. Harvard professors, Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, like these people they're just inaccessible back in the day. You had to go to Harvard. I was a kid growing up throwing bricks at police cars.
I didn't even know what uni was. Yeah,
exactly. So to me, that was just there's no way I was going to uni because it was too daunting. But like yourself, find a way. You don't like writing, you can't spell, listen to podcasts. Find your way and make it happen.
I love that. Find a way.
If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way.
Audio books now, like it's
Audible, Blinkist. If you don't like doing the whole book, there's a thing called Blinkist, which basically summarizes that one book. And it's just a summary of it, about 4 minutes. Happy days.
And those that are listening at home, you don't need a Google diary. You can use a normal fucking diary.
Dave just needed to put that in there.
I get shit all the time from these boys, man. They're like, fucking send us a calendar invite. And I'm like, mate, just write it in your fucking
He's
diary.
like, hold up, let me use dial-up first.
But I'm the sort of guy that still even now needs to write stuff down to actually...
subconscious to conscious.
Yeah, when I look at it on the phone, even though I put it in the calendar, it doesn't register as well as writing it down.
Love that.
Enough about me, but bro, how long did you do inside? And what's your message to those?
I've never worked it out, but it's probably like I've sort of got a gist of the bigger sentences.
Yeah.
So I did 7 years for one bank robbery, 5 for another one, 3 years for bank snatchers, 3 years for bank snatchers. So you put those together, 12, 15, 18 there, and then there's remand here, 12 months for that car, so 19, 18 to 20 years probably more than 18. It would have been near 20 years, maybe over. Yeah. But my message to all the young kids out there, we act from fear. We act from what we know, and I understand that, but use the same hustle. Do a skills audit on yourself. Write down, draw a line on the page and say, what am I good at? Because you go, what degree do I have, or what qualifications do you have? And you're like, oh, fucking nothing, bro. And your head goes down. What skills do you have? Do you hustle yet? Are you committed? Will you make money? Will you persevere until you make that money? We've got people, on drugs that are making $400 a day, $500 a day, maybe more, $1,000 a day. If you can make $1,000 a day, it's $7,000 a week. If you can do it in one sense, you still got, the entrepreneurial mindset and how to make it all. Marketing, sales, get with drug dealers, even as an example. And I mean that respectfully to society, but use the same skills and just go from destructive to constructive. Put it in the right space. Because what we do, we fucking beat up, I've got to do 4 years at uni before I could do anything. That's a huge, daunting task for anybody.
Especially you can't read and write, haven't gone to school.
Oh, could you if I said, let's go make money today, would you make it 100%? I would. That's what I asked them. I said, so do you have hustle in you? 100% I do. Well, guess what? If you got hustle there, you got hustle here. Listen to a podcast. You want how to make $1 million starting with zero. Type that into YouTube. You get 1 billion videos. Pick one, or go through a few and say, actually, that would align with me. And like the boys said before, someone might not like me on this podcast. That's cool too. Find your way, implement it daily, do it for 1 year, and watch what happens. 1 year, because you've got to build trust in yourself, because you've let yourself down so much. Now you're built from a position where you've strengthened toxicity, dysfunction. So when you say to yourself, I'm going to do this, you're going, I'm full of shit. I'm full of shit. But what you got to do is just go change that first step in behavior guide, mentor, whoever it is, if you don't have it, and then start to implement that first step. What's the next step, Jeff or Grades or Blakey? What's the next one? What's the next one? And show up to yourself. So when you get that opportunity, alarm goes, little things, making your bed, sticking to your word, drinking and staying hydrated, that's self-love. You know, people go, who gives a fuck? What's that got to do with anything? That's showing up for yourself. If you don't show up for yourself there, you won't show up for yourself everywhere else within life. Change your behaviors by identifying what skills audit you got. What are the skills I don't want in my life? What are the ones I do want in my life? And how can I shift and change from destructive to constructive and watch what happens?
There's two things that's come up for me with what you said then that my mentor said to me. One is how you do one thing is how you do everything.
100%.
Same as drinking water, showing up. Simple task of making the bed. If you're too fucking lazy to make the bed in the morning, how else are you going to show up in your life? And the other thing my mentor said to me, and this is relatable to business, but it's definitely relatable to personal growth, but the only way you can physically lose is by quitting.
Absolutely.
It's literally, and I register simplicity like that. Like I don't like to, I get confused pretty easy. Simple terms is the only way you can fail at business, personal growth, a relationship, a sporting event is if you quit.
Absolutely.
Literally the only way. It's not easy, but it's that fucking simple. But it's just showing up every single day when you don't want to. And if you know you can go to bed, put your head on that pillow knowing that you didn't quit, you've actually taken a step forward. Even if you've lost 10 grand on your business, your missus has broken up, whatever, but if you've still shown up and given it your all and not quit, you have succeeded that day.
That. There's a word dissonance, and there's different types of dissonance, and what will happen when something comes up like this where you make your bed, they go, what the fuck would I make my bed? I'm going to lay it in tonight. It just consumes time. You're looking through what, was that a positive statement that you've just made? Whereas if you say, what it teaches me is discipline, and discipline will allow me to show up to the life I want. And the life I want is traveling to all parts of the world, plus having a partner that is not going to cheat on me or leave me for the next bloke because I don't have enough strength within myself, right, as an example. And then, like, so look at it deeper then, it's just a fucking bed, who cares? That's surface level. And we as humans just operate it, how's your day? Good. What are you up to? Not much. What are you doing later? Don't know.
Oh, the old standard
I want to snap kick you to the moon because, you know, like get some oomph into you. I've been productive. What we've done today is X, Y, Z. And it sort of leads to a conversation. That's valuing yourself, loving yourself, you know. And as men, it's hard to do because it's like, fuck, don't worry about it, bro. We'll fucking show up tomorrow. His lounge room's fucked. They all walked out. He's sitting there crying. And so I was the same thing, you know. This is your sign, your message, your wake-up call, wakey, hands off, snaky, whatever it is for yourself to grab your balls and just take that first step and say, fuck it. I'm going to drop the pride, drop the ego. Fuck, there's no embarrassment in it. The embarrassment is you not fucking stepping into the greatest version of yourself. That's the embarrassment. He'll tell you, I'll tell you, the tears told you. Like, just grab those balls and say, fuck it. I'm just going to do my best and see where it takes me.
And this is all beautiful to end the podcast on this, but talk about grabbing your balls, man. What? Because if I was dying and I could do one last thing, and all respect to society, but it'd be to rob a fucking bank, right?
How many of you have thought about it? I was with someone and they go, I've always thought about, you know, the armor guards.
How hard would it be today?
There's nothing to steal. You'd have to say, I need your computer screen. Transfer to Jeffery Morgan. Fuck, yeah. Oh, wait, I can't transfer to Jeffery Morgan. Give me a name I can transfer to.
Give me a...
But what's it like, bro? Like, fucking give us... I mean, because one, it takes fucking balls to do it.
Like Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, fucking love them.
It'd be like a drug, like you chase that high.
Oh, I think you're like...
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
It's funny, because a lot of people say that. When you're in it, it's a high. You know, to say it's not, you're full of shit. That's the reality. And I don't say that... I say that with truth, so you get context to bank robbers' mentality at the moment. Looking back on it, we destroyed lives, man. We fuck people up, and it's not cool, right? So let's get that clear before this story. But in general, fuck, it's like when you're in that moment, it's like anything. Maybe you like skydiving, you're jumping out of that plane. Fuck yeah! When I'm jumping out of that car, I'm thinking, I'm thinking in
Jigsaw
my
has it.
head how much money is going to come back in this bag with me, and it was a kinder surprise for us. You know, you like as a kid, you open that little thing, you see the toy. Fuck! Oh, I got this one, and you run in this bank, you sledgehammer in the safe, and like you know, it opens up, and sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, and to me that was just such a thrill. And then you'd have the driver because you could count them. They came in bundles of 100,000 or 50,000 inside the vault. So I'd be going like 100,000 to like you could count, you know.
What was the biggest loot?
The biggest one I got charged for was 250K. So that was I got charged for 2 banks. The one in Melbourne, we cleaned it out. There was nothing left in the bank. We took the safes underneath the counters. The drawers up the top there got nothing, but there's still probably 20 grand in there. You still take every cent we took out of that bank. It was 250K, which is a small bank robbery in my eyes. I'll put it that way. And then, for us to look back on it, I'm in there. That's what I was going to tell you. And the driver's going, how much? And I go, how much is your mum? And he's like, fuck it. We're mucking around in this moment, and it's fucking insane. I look back on it, that's that normal behaviour where we built that way thinking that was normal. And he'd be like, oh, good. I go, good, yeah, or something. We were mucking around quite a lot with it, and it's just insane to think in the middle of something, people are screaming out, maybe someone's crying, and we're fucking around in this little, shut up. It's insane, insane.
It's crazy, man. I've got a little story that reminds me. It's no bank robbery, but it's the closest thing I've done to it. And I've gone to the shops, man. I'm young. Yeah. I'm in the shops. I'm in the passenger seat with me and my nan. My nan sort of brought me up as my mum back in New Zealand. And anyway, she's gone into the dairy, and I've seen a lotto shop, and no one's buying the counter. So I've gone in there. I've jumped over the counter, and I've grabbed all the scratchy tickets, and they're still in all the plastic bundles, and I'm putting them down my pants.
I could picture this kid.
And I've jumped back into the passenger seat. And then my nan's jumped in, and I've gone, Nan, drive, I'm feeling lucky. And that's the thing, I always see and as we're driving down the road, I'm pulling out these bundles of these fucking bulk scratchies, and we're at home here, my nan just fucking scratching them flat out.
Did you win anything?
Oh, man, because I knew that I had to go and scratch them quick. And this is how you think as a young kid, man. I must have been fucking young, man, you know? And like I'm thinking, Nan, we've got to scratch these because I think got to go and cash them into all the lotto shops. And before they go and tell everyone that they've been stolen, you know what I mean? So we're scratching them pretty quick. And I think it was about $3 grand.
Wow. Happy days for you.
Yeah. Did you get it?
Yeah.
While we're on story time, I got a funny one. It's probably, we're going down in levels. It's definitely ain't a bank robbery. But I had my parents, you know, Dad always bought me my rugby boots, and I had amazing support in that sense, but I was just rebellious. And I remember I used to steal a lot of clothes and stuff in the city and dack it down your pants and stuff. And I remember I was surfing one time with my mate, caught the bus all the way to the beach, would have been probably 15. And I had my wetsuit on, and we had no money, and we were fucking starving. We surfed for like 4 or 5 hours. And I remember going to the shops, and I come back out, and we're sitting down. He's like, did you get anything? And you can put a lot of shit in a wetsuit. So I put a full roast chicken down one leg.
What?
I put a bag of bread down the other. I put a tub of mayo in, and I put a couple of Cokes down the back.
Please, mate.
And I walked down to the beach. I'm just pulling out a roast chicken and some bread. But I remember just pulling it all out, and my mate's just like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
Like you said,
I'm impressed.
No, we're here to impress you, mate.
It's just gone.
I said, boys, you've got to come up with some really good stories, man.
The bank robbery to roast chicken.
Very nice. The driver used to be like, impress me. Like he'd say, anything, impress me. So I'd never forget, I pulled out a bundle of hundreds, and it was stacked together. It had the amount on the side. I said, here, look at this. And as he turned his head, I slapped him with the whole bundle of money, and it actually hit him so hard. I just went, here, this will impress him. He goes, what? He turns and whack, just in the face at the time. And you look back at that shit, and you're just like, well, what were we thinking?
Well, you wouldn't change it for the world, though, man. Like, I mean,
it is what it is, and I'm not going to, you know, like, if I didn't talk in truth, then I'm full of shit now. Because I said I've changed my life. Well, then I should be honest about what happened at each point in my life. Now, people might say, oh, what about other stuff? You obviously done more. Well, yeah, the only thing you can do at some point of time is do your best to give back to the world, and that's what you can do.
Do you hold any shame? Well, a lot of people that have got a lot of shame and guilt in their life, and they want to make this change, right, and change their life, and get on that personal growth journey and business and whatnot. That's still sitting there. You know, them stories you're telling us, they're always still sitting there. And you know, for myself, some things I've done I'm not proud of. I don't hold any shame or guilt or regret because I've learnt from them and I'm using them as tools. But from the severity of your past, you know, have you held any shame or guilt for people listening?
Nah, like I wouldn't say, what's the word? It's more like every lesson's a blessing in your life, but how I wish I could help those people that I impacted. That's probably where I'm at. And it's, you know, you can't hold that forever. And this is for everybody. It's going to chew you up, right? How could I help people? And if those people ever watch this and said, I was in your bank robbery at Blackburn in Melbourne or the Commonwealth Bank in Hurstville, reach out to me and I'll help you go through the emotion of shifting from who you are and what's happened from that to who you can be again, because that's all I can do. Carrying shame and carrying embarrassment, then I'm not proud of who I've become. I've gone back. And if I've truly changed, I've let go of chapter 5, and I can't just carry that forever.
Everyone's got to be credited on who they are today, man. That's
Absolutely.
You know, like we only know what we know, man. I mean, because the other thing is, like if you knew now, I sometimes wish that all the time. Like, fuck, I just wish I knew now what I knew back then.
Absolutely.
You know, but it ain't the case.
We've got a habit challenge at the moment, and as an example, and people will beat up on day 24, and they do 16 of the challenges, and they're like, oh, you know, I didn't get it all done. And I'm like, fuck, you're amazing. 16 challenges from back when we started, 0 for yourself. You got 16 that you're doing regularly. Focus on that. And that's, you know, rather than beat up on what you haven't got to yet. But don't then enable yourself and say, oh, fuck it, I haven't done 8 more. I'm just going to sleep in now, not make the bed, not eat properly. Make sure that you've done everything you can with the time frame. Maybe the kids have consumed it, even with the diary, you know, and things will happen. You have to rush to hospital or flat tire or whatever it is. People beat up on that version. But, you know, focus on what you're actually doing for yourself. That's a better journey. And I just wanted to say with Primal Warrior, I love the message, but it's a 4-way split. There's me and 3 others, and we do we all have a night we facilitate on, and then the Sunday and Monday nights premium, Sunday nights all of us as Primal Warriors, and some of the nights I can't get in there, and some people for whatever reason, business or travel and vice versa with the rest of us, but we walk side by side, man, in that group, and that's a very important message for everybody. No matter how far, you know, even if I had more education, lived experience or whatever it is, we're all side by side as brothers and as community. And when we understand that, now we're not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed to have a conversation. Oh, he's better than me, or he's faster than me, he's prettier than me, something of that. He's got more money than me. I just don't think on that level. I just think we're all humans. How can we help each other? There's a word, Mellorism. Look it up, and it's basically how you can make the world a better place through human effort. And all it takes is us doing that on a regular basis, and give it your best shot. Maybe you'll be surprised at what you could teach somebody who you think you wouldn't teach somebody. You know, oh, he's too educated, oh, he's too wise, or he's too good for me. Bullshit. There's things you teach me that we're all the same.
That's
period.
awesome, bro.
Greatest race on this planet is the human race when we all get on with each other. Period.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that.
Sweet, man. Well, I'm going to probably just end it up there. As much as I know we could talk for hours on here. But thanks, boys, for being on the podcast again, man. Jake, I love what you're doing. I love your story, bro. Appreciate you sharing it.
Powerful.
Grades, love having you on here, brother. Especially being having a newborn as well, man, for making it here. And also, boys, for putting this gala on, raising money for the starting line. And Jeffery Morgan, bro, I really appreciate you coming on here, man, giving up the time, sharing your stories too, bro, having that accountability in terms of and being vulnerable about yourself, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
To all you boys.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man, fucking.
I appreciate everyone's honesty and vulnerability today, and let that be a lesson. They've shared stuff that, they no doubt carried for a long time. You let go of the heaviness of your invisible backpack when you start to deal with things one thing at a time. Prioritize that. Thanks for tuning in. Get down to the gala, which is on what date? The 9th of November, just to confirm. Time, start time.
6 p.m.
Location.
The Camfield.
Camfield, man.
We'll see you there.
It's going to be a ripper. I'll have all the links in the description of this
down below.
Yeah, down below. Sweet as boys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.